My name is Matthias Schmuth. I've been attending the ESDR meetings for 25 years now. So 25 years of ESDR meetings, and I'm actually 50 years old, so it's half of my lifetime that I've been with the ESDR, which is amazing. And I realize I'm now passing a threshold of being longer with the ESDR than without the ESDR. I first attended a ESDR meeting as a medical student. I remember very well that I was very impressed by the diversity of research information that I was exposed to as a medical student, not knowing too much about dermatology at the time. And I actually remember that I was a bit concerned that the talks that I listened to didn't provide me with the context that I thought I needed to understand what this really was about. And it's interesting now, some years later, I feel that sometimes I get too much context. I'm thinking during the introductions, perhaps keep it shorter, get to the data. So different perspectives in different periods of your life. So since I was a medical student when I first went to the ESDR, I didn't really know how to compare size. I didn't know anything about the number of people. It just seemed huge to me. It was a huge meeting with very international people. I liked that. Now I know that ESDR has actually evolved. It's become more international, I think, and it's heading towards being more inclusive. But even in the early days, I felt it was very international and very inclusive, and the research was always at the cutting edge. People were trying to use new technologies also from other fields, and that was my first experience and impression of the ESDR, that this is really the place where new developments can be seen. So this of course depends on your personal research focus a little bit. So when I first went to the ESDR, there were initial attempts to do melanoma vaccination using interleukin-2, and at the same time there was first research trying to understand the relationship between skin barrier function and inflammation, just looking at cytokines that just recently had been described and discovered. And there were groups including Ken Feingold and Peter Elias, but also Brian Nikolov, who investigated the expression of cytokines after skin barrier disturbance and found that there is a close relationship between a disturbed skin barrier and inflammation. So that was what I saw during my first meetings, and what also caught my interest. So I think it has changed. The ESDR used to focus very much on organizing meetings, which I think still is a very important function of the ESDR, to bring people together, to provide them with a forum for discussing things. But the ESDR has significantly broadened the scope, trying to support young people in their career, providing technology access, providing mobility type of grants. So the scope has broadened significantly, and I think that's a very promising development for the ESDR. So I think there are two things that I liked being involved in while I served on the board of the ESDR. One was being involved in the Future Leaders Academy, helping young people to understand the steps of the career of a physician scientist or a scientist in skin biology. That's one thing that I was involved that I think is quite successful and important. The other thing is that Jonathan Barker and myself, we started a strategic exercise for the ESDR in the years 2006, 2007, 2016, 2017, to come up with a new direction for the ESDR, which is connected with the broadening scope of the ESDR. So we stepped back to try to define goals for the ESDR and how to achieve these goals for the next perhaps 10 years. And I think you can now start in the year 2019 to see first results of this effort to come up with a strategic plan for the ESDR. Yeah, so something that was quite unusual was when we did the strategic exercise for the ESDR, we hired a consultant, and we met with the consultant, and in the early phase we spent a lot of time thinking about the broader vision for the ESDR. And it was kind of unusual for us being used to going to conferences and trying to analyze data. This consultant actually kind of did a mental exercise with us where we had to kind of fly high into the universe and try to look down on the ESDR and perhaps the broader community of skin scientists to better, from the bird's eye view, to better understand what the real needs and perhaps future developments for the society could be. So I think that was a very unusual situation, us sitting in this room and going through this mental yoga-like exercise to try to step back and understand the broader vision. So it was a very fun experience. I think that the founders really have to be recognized for founding the society. I hope that those that are still among us will be able to be there because it's really their work to have started the society, and we are very grateful for them to have done that.